Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are talking right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, doing our daily MLB pitching preview show. We're looking at the card for a Sunday, August 2nd. Joe Duffy, how are you doing in baseball this year?
It's been a tremendous year, to say the least. Again, we added a few systems that we've gotten from a couple different places, so it's an even better than average year for us, and compared to the rest of the world, it's just another spectacular year.
Congratulations on all your success, Joe. First thing I want to ask you about from the Sunday card, Jose Fernandez starting again from Miami, right? Basically, expect awesomeness from him start in and start out until further notice. James Shields on the other side, not quite as consistent or reliable, certainly capable of a huge game, though. What's your take on this pitching matchup, James Shields and Jose Fernandez?
Jose Fernandez at home is as close to a sure thing as there's been. He actually, in his decisions, 15-0 at home in his career, 1.19 ERA. So if you're going to go with San Diego, you're going to have to give me a pretty compelling reason. At this point, Jose Fernandez, you either go with him, you maybe debate whether or not you want to lay the 1.5, and at this point, you're going to have to lay the 1.5 to get some good value, but he is unconscious. He was one of the top prospects. He's more than lived up to expectations. Actually, he's exceeded expectations at home. So one of those, I might look at the run line and possibly lay the 1.5 with Hernandez.
And now I am about to make a pretty ballsy, gutsy, possibly surprising call. You ready for it, Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com?
You always make ballsy calls here.
All right, not always. A lot of times they're kind of obvious. But this one, I'm thinking maybe Chris Heston from San Francisco is due for a pounding, or at least an off day. You know that I've been calling him out as a guy I've been looking to bet on, looking for good starts from this year's start in and start out. He's going to be on the road, though, here at Texas in a day game. He hasn't done well in day games so far this year. It's a small sample size, but his day-night splits are pretty stark, favoring night starts. And also, in his 3 road starts at Hitters Parks this year, 2 have come at Coors, 1 at Cincinnati. He's gotten pounded every time. Day game at Texas, I think Heston might get hit here. On the other side, Martin Perez, we know he's struggled. We know we're going to get a low total in this game because of Heston's record. I'm thinking maybe we see like an 8 or an 8.5, and we get a big offensive day from both teams. What do you think, Joe?
Well, Texas has been very erratic this year, and they're certainly capable of having a great offensive effort. I think that's a pretty good call. I don't know. Chris Heston's been very solid. You can't argue with his performance. I don't know if that's the most ballsy call ever. It's not like, you said that Zach Greinke or Clayton Kershaw was going to give up 10 runs or something like that. But still, it's tough.
Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. It's a pretty ballsy call. Heston's been excellent most of the year. 11-5 record, 3.14 ERA. I think if someone comes out and says he's due for a rough day, he's in for a rough day, I think that counts as ballsy. You don't think so?
Okay, it's pretty ballsy. Maybe I will do. I do. On my site, I do have what I like to call outsourced picks, where if a trusted expert talks me into something, who knows, maybe this will be an outsourced pick from Joe Duffy's picks at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Absolutely. You're free to use it, but just don't refer to me as an expert, because then people will come at me and I'll say, I didn't call myself an expert. Joe Duffy called me an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who interviews experts. All right. Well, a couple other games that are interesting. Let's Ivan Nova and Jeff Samardzija going in the Yankees and White Sox. Both these teams have been very profitable in July. Samardzija, not lights out. Far from it every start, but I'm thinking that he's more likely to have a good start here than Nova. I'm thinking Nova, a little shaky right now. Velocity's a little bit down. I'm thinking maybe he gets hit. What do you think about that, Joe?
By the way, an industry source told me you were the WNBA expert. Very lovely young lady. I'm not going to say her name.
I am doing okay, actually. Who told you that? I am doing okay. I am doing all right, though, actually, WNBA this year.
All right. Well, Jeff Samardzija, and by the way, as we file this, there are still reports that he could be traded, but we're assuming that he is going to be pitching for the White Sox on Sunday. He has turned it around. He got off to that awful start, but he's got 4-1 with a 2.78 ERA and .97 WHIP over his last 9 starts. So he is back to being one of the top pitchers in baseball, and his overall numbers are a bit deceptive because he just struggled early in the year. But you've got a very good pitcher who, over a pretty long stretch, is back to pitching like a stud. So at this point, I'm going to treat Samar as if he's one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball.
Okay, and then one other game that I would say I'm thinking about right now. It's not checkmarked in my brain as a lean yet, but you know, games in Minnesota have been going way over recently. I don't know if you know, they're on a homestand. Every game has gone over, most of them pretty comfortably. And now we're going to have Seattle at Minnesota in a day game. Iwakuma against Pelfrey. I think because of Iwakuma's name, the line will probably be relatively modest, and he has had some decent starts recently. He's also gotten hit a little bit. This year has been up and down for him. Pelfrey, we know earlier in the year was pretty good, but recently also has gotten hit. I'm thinking maybe we see a relatively low total in this one, and the over might be a good bet. What do you think?
Pelfrey's been a little bit better in his 2 starts since the All-Star break with a 3.18 ERA, but that's nothing to, you know, say that he's completely turned the corner. I would probably tend to agree with you. It might be a decent spot for the over, but the fact that Pelfrey has pitched a little bit better might make me somewhat nervous. But, you know, again, I don't disagree with you, which is different than saying I agree with you. But I think you make a pretty solid argument.
Well, as of right now, I just have one lean. It's a big one, though, on Sunday, August 2nd, over in San Francisco, Texas. What else would you like to bring to our attention, Joe?
It's a pretty big splits day, actually. Charlie Morton is expected to pitch for the Pirates, 7.26 ERA on the road with a 1.58 whip compared to 225 and 114 at home. And while we talked about Fernandez and then Noah Syndergaard at home, his ERA is 1.46 and 0.79 compared to 4.34 and 1.45 on the road. So, you know, I have said that at times people overplay splits, but these are guys who have significant enough splits that you definitely want to make notice of it.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that Morton was starting for Pittsburgh, but if you recall earlier this year, I also pointed out that he has notable day-night splits. He's particularly vulnerable in the day. This, of course, is a day game. Cincinnati, we know, has some big lefty bats. Who's due to pitch on the other side for Cincinnati?
My sources say to be announced, actually.
To be announced. All right. Well, I would definitely agree with you then that I would look for Morton to have a bad start against Cincinnati on Sunday. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Thanks very much. Talk to you again very soon.